Hey guys, it's Fred. Here's a news update. I did a video on this way back on the Fred McCoy 40 channel.
The trial is getting underway for the former Illinois deputy accused of killing a black woman inside her home last year. Deputy Grayson has since...
See guys, once again, first of all, let's stop there at the black woman. I think that could be left out. Whenever there's something goes on, they don't say a white woman or a white this and that. It's only when there's a black. We've got to stop this black and white thing. I think this guy would have done the same, whether it was black, white, Hispanic, or a little green Martian. There's some people that just wants to shoot and harm other people, but it has nothing to do with the lady's color, I don't believe. Let's go on.
Been fired, but his checkered past, including his discharge for misconduct from the Army, raising more questions on how he was able to continue working in law.
Disconduct, got a bad conduct discharge from the Army. He couldn't make it in the Army, and then they give him a job as a police officer. This is where administrators should be held accountable. It's not only this fellow's fault, it's the person that hired this guy. This was a shooting, an accident, looking for a place to happen.
Law enforcement. Grayson was charged with first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and misconduct. If convicted, he could face 45 years to life in prison. Joining me now is the author of Killing Time with John Wayne Gacy, trial attorney Karen Conti. Karen, good morning to you. This trial was relocated because of all of the national attention it got. How is that going to impact jury selection today?
Well, it's good for the defendant because this, in Springfield, Illinois, which is our capital, it was such a widely publicized case that getting a fair trial was going to be very, very difficult. Peoria is a little bit more of a diverse community, so it might be better for the prosecution.
Well, maybe Peoria would want him to come there and be a police officer for them if...
But generally speaking, you're going to find better impartial jurors in Peoria, which is about 2.5 hours south of Chicago.
There is some body camera video. We're watching part of it here of the shooting. It's pretty disturbing to watch. How does that potentially hurt the defense here?
Well, this is all captured on video, and what you see, at least what I see, is that there was no de-escalation. So they go in, they know that the woman has some mental health issues. She goes to take a boiling pot of water off the stove, and the police officer, she says something to the police officer, and instead of de-escalating, which our law requires the police to do.
She said something like, "I rebuke Satan." She was not... This is a mental patient. You're there on a mentally disturbed person, first of all. You should already be prepared that things are not going to be like fooling with a normal person. All he had to do if he's that scared is turn around and run out the door. The door's right there behind him. If he's that scared, he could have ran out the door. He could have used less lethal. He could have used pepper spray. He could have used a taser. He didn't have to use anything. If he just de-escalated the situation with her, she didn't mean no harm. She was just having a mental breakdown. Needed some kindness, not a bullet.
Do now, they sort of move forward and shoot her. What was she an imminent threat to them?
No.
From a serious bodily harm standpoint? That's what the jury is going to have to decide. Was it imminent? Was she fleeing an arrest? No, she wasn't. Was she a danger to them? And were they entitled to use this deadly force?
Could they have just backed out the door and gave her time to cool down? You didn't have to back out the door. You could have just said some kind words to her when she was talking about rebuking the devil. Seems like just a religious woman. She's having a mental breakdown.
You mentioned some of the mental health issues. We do know that some...
You know, first thing you do is you keep the person with you. You don't let... a while ago, I'm thinking the first time I filmed this video, that she was over here in the living room part with the two officers. And then they allowed her to walk around her house and her kitchen. So they are responsible. They could have nipped this in the bud, as Barney would say, if they just said, here, stay over here with us, hon, until we get this figured out. Stay over here. But they let her walk freely around her house and then go over and pick up a boiling pot of water.
Sonia Massey had been dealing with some mental health issues. She had checked herself into a 30-day program shortly.
See her there in the living room, guys? She's actually in the living room there.
Shooting, but she eventually
and then
left
they let her get up and walk past the
Reports
officer.
say, though, that this officer involved here didn't know about her mental health background. So how much of that will be allowed to be part of this trial?
Interestingly, the judge ruled that it will not be part of
It shouldn't be. You deal with the situation that you're on right then. You don't have to know that she's got a background of mental illness to realize that she's having a mental breakdown. On the first video that it's not showing it here. You can go back through Fred McCoy 40, and there's a complete video from the time they get there till he pulls his gun and shoots her. Shoots her down like a rabid dog. And then the other officer comes in or something. He says, oh, she threatened me.
the trial. There were prior calls because even her family called on her saying, can you take care of her because she's not well? But it's going to be very limited as to what the jury is going to get to hear, because the court is saying that, what happened on that day had nothing to do with her mental illness. It had to do with what the police officer reasonably thought was going to happen.
A reasonable police officer would have used some kindness, protect and serve. A reasonable police officer would have just back out of the situation, go out the door. And a reasonable police officer would have never let her had gotten out of his control. When she was there on the couch, I would have blocked off the kitchen. You've got knives in the kitchen. You've got frying pans in the kitchen. A kitchen is one of the worst places that when you're dealing with anybody, a domestic, a kitchen is the worst place that you can let anybody go to. If you can keep a person out of the kitchen, you'll definitely want to do that. She was safe on the couch where she was at. He's the one that allowed her to roam around.
And again, our law is very clear now, and it's changed in the last 4 years, where it says that if someone's of harm to themselves, that's not sufficient reason to use deadly force. So the question is going to be...
Same way in Kentucky. You can't kill somebody to keep them from killing themselves. Now there's suicide by police. They don't want to harm themselves, so they get the police to do it for them. But how much sense does it make? Oh, they was going to de-life themselves, so I'll just do it for them. See her sitting there on the couch?
When she was taking that pot off the stove, did she present a risk of serious bodily harm to the police officers or of death to them? And
she did not. She just said, I rebuke you, Satan, or something to that effect. And he took that as a threat because she's walking towards the kitchen sink to dump the water or whatever she's going to do there. And he took it as a threat. I don't even think she realized what she was doing. If I remember correctly, he just draws his gun and shoots her. I think it's a headshot.
that is the key, and that's what the jury instructions are going to read.
What kind of a precedent could this case set for police officers across the nation?
It's not a precedent. This is dealing with an individual officer. This is this person's mentality. This person was one of those officers that's out there today that wants to get on that radio and yell, shots fired, shots fired. There's police officers out there that want to go through an entire career and never have to shoot anybody. And then there's police officers out there that wants to be able to go around and tell people, yeah, I've had to shoot 3 in my career. That's nothing to brag about. That just shows that you don't have any fighting ability or personal skills that you can communicate with people. And mental people is definitely something this day and time that's getting worse and worse.
Well, these split decisions need to be made by police officers, and nobody wants to be in that situation. However, it just seems to me that this police officer maybe needed more training. And
this police officer didn't need more training. I don't know why it is, guys, in life. Every channel ever Go back and look at all the police officer videos I got, and that's what you'll hear. Need more training. Sent for more training. We're going to give more training on this. Some of this stuff is not training. We have training in the police academy. Some of it is common sense and just a person's heart. It's called having a heart, having feelings for somebody else and the position and the condition that they are in at the moment. People have bad days. We don't have to make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. She had a temporary mental issue, and he solved it by making a permanent decision. She'll never have that problem again. That's not the way you solve. That's called having a heart.
This idea of de-escalating before shooting a gun is very, very important. And my guess would be that his training...
This guy wanted to go around and tell people that he's had to kill somebody. He don't have to tell them, oh, it's a older woman. If she's got mental condition, all she had was a pot of hot water. I'm standing probably 20 feet away from her. I could have ran. I could have tased her. I could have pepper sprayed her. I could have just kept her on the couch while she was there.
Training was not sufficient to allow him a cooler thought, which is de-escalate. Could he have just even left the apartment?
This guy couldn't even make it through the Army, guys. This guy was discharged from the Army, and he's going to de-escalate or he's going to do anything else. This guy couldn't even be a soldier, and they gave him a badge and a gun.
You know, that probably would have been the best thing to do here, the best outcome. So I think we're going to see more training. We're going to see more rigorous training because nobody likes to see someone go to jail for murder.
Blame it on the training. Blame it on training. They teach you in the academy, keep an eye on people's hands. As long as you can see their hands, never been shot by nobody using their feet. As long as you can see a person's hands. There she is sitting on the couch, not harming anybody. He's actually over here at the entrance, or this camera is, this body cam. There's an officer standing right here to keep her away from the kitchen. This is not training. This is basic police 101. You keep the person you're there on, the suspect, the victim, whatever you want to call them at this time. This lady became a victim. And all you had to do is keep her right there isolated in that one room. Look at her. What's she going to do? Hit them with, have a pillow fight? She could have a pillow fight right there. The only thing you see there she could use on them officers if she wanted to fight was a pillow. But you're going to step back. He had to move out of her way. In order for her to get to the kitchen, one of those officers had to move out of the way and let her by and let her have control. They're there on a complaint. When you're there on a complaint, you assume control of that situation until you're ready to go.
On the other hand, what happened here seems pretty outrageous.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download
Thanks,
our news.
guys. That's going to finish this one. Catch you on the next one.